Always afternoon before it's dark, this afternoon to introduce the mayor of Prattville. Bill Gillespie. I think if one word would describe our mayor, it's accessible. And I've often said, I don't know when he sleeps because he goes as much at night as he does in the daytime, and he has a very busy day every day, and even weekends. But I'm a part of several organizations, and we meet on weekends, and we meet at odd times. And if we get on the mayor's calendar, we can rest assured he'll be there. So we're very honored to have him here with us tonight. Bill's a native of Prattville, and one of the feathers in his cap, and I asked him this very early on. I said, did you graduate from Kitty College? And he said, yes. And anybody that graduated from Kitty College is well on the way to a good career, whatever they're in, politics or business or whatever. But Bill ran for council in 2004 for the first time and was elected to represent District 1. In 2010, he was elected to president of the city council, expecting to serve in that position, but lo and behold, the very next year, our mayor at that time, Jim Byard, accepted an offer from the then Governor Robert Bentley to hold a cabinet post at ADECA. So he checked out, and Bill Gillespie became our mayor. I don't want to say by default. I think by providential hand of God that he was put in that position to be where he is today. But he ran for re-election in 2012 and won handedly. Ran again 2014. Or 16 again in 2016, and he's now in his second full term. His family has been in Prattville a long time. They've been in the auto service business for over 60 years in Prattville, and Bill really follows in the footsteps of his dad, Billy Gillespie, who served on the city council, ran that business, and sat on the council and served the people of this city from 1984 to 1992. So it's my pleasure to introduce him to you tonight, to bring us up to date on what's happening in the city of Prattville, the good things and the challenges that we have. So Bill, the floor is yours, and if you'll pin that to your coat.
Thank you. Well, I tell you, it's been my pleasure and honor to fulfill this position, and I've really enjoyed it. And I truly do believe the good Lord had a hand in it, because when I first started the political career, I never was thinking about being the mayor, and it just he set the stage, and I was willing and able. And thank goodness, because if it hadn't been for my son and my wife, my son had gone to college, came back, and started working with us part-time, and he came back full-time and had been with the small family business for about a year. When this role came open, if it had not been for him, then I wouldn't be standing here today. I'd be doing something else. But you know, it is great to be here in Prattville, because we got so many great people, and we have such a history that I think we need to, continue to selling that history more and more. Social media with Gene Curlin and everybody else is just another great way to help get that out more and more. Now, who all here heard about the whistle on Thursday of last week? Okay, did you hear the whistle, or did you enjoy the whistle? I know I did, and that was Dr. Bronner from the RSA system. That was sort of his brainchild a little bit with Walter Kennedy, who was over I forgot the name of the hotel. Yeah, of the Legends out there. Thank you. And so they're trying to figure out, what could they have there as their trademark, like they do a lot of the other golf courses and hotels and so forth. And I'm not for certain who. Maybe Mr. Curlin, you can tell me. But Walter made a comment that they had a recording of the sound, and so they took that. Ann Boutwell, okay, and they sent that off, and they had a whistle designed to match that sound with an air compressed whistle instead of a steam like they used to. And but I'm gonna tell you, there was a few hundred people there the other day, and I think everybody just really enjoyed it. And just like the creek that's behind us now, it's still being enjoyed by people getting out there with kayaks, and whether it's fishing or just going out there skipping rocks. And I really believe that the creek behind us is what brought Daniel Pratt to this area, along with the grace of God too. But he has really left his mark. Daniel Pratt has left his mark on the city of Prattville, and And even to this day, as I get out and talk, he's helped put Autauga County and Prattville on the map as being the birthplace of industry for in Alabama. And he was so heavily involved in religion and schools, and he just really set the foundation for us. And I think that foundation is really what has keep us being so very, very blessed and rewarded, and being able to continue to grow. We were talking, Mr. Harrell and I were talking a little bit earlier, we got so much house manufacturing going on in some of the eastern portion of Prattville on Old Ridge Road. Back in my day, I remember as a teenager, that's where some people would meet to, because it was way outside the city, and that's where some people would be out there drag racing, doing some things they probably shouldn't be doing. But now there's houses and churches and schools, and anyway, it's just been, the way Prattville has grown, it's just really been a blessing. Now, the other thing I want to halfway mention also, since I did mention Daniel Pratt, a little bit of history, and we were talking earlier with Mr. Curlin, about the deer farm that was around. So, should I go ahead and pronounce it properly, or just throw it?
Pratoma.
There you go. So, and it's just a stone's throw. It's just a stone's throw from here, and there's still some of the columns are still there. But if anybody here has noticed the new sidewalk that's coming along, and we're going to look at some of the columns that are there, see if there's some way we can have a partnership and incorporate those, because we were actually looking at the one right there on Pletcher Street, that there's one standing, and how could we make that as a landmark and so forth. But we have so many great things going on because of some of the funding, the cooperation with the state and the federal government. The sidewalk project we have out there is a 80-20 match from some federal grant monies and so forth. So we're trying to take those tax dollars and stretch them and help Prattville to have a great environment for our citizens to get out and be healthy and so forth, which we did lose some oak trees because of this project, but we have planted some more, so hopefully whenever these trees come up and about, they'll be enjoyed as much or even more than some of those oak trees were. Some of the other projects that we have going on, it relates back to some of our partnerships, and sometimes, as we were talking a little bit earlier, when you start talking about apartments, people are always very receptive of apartments, but I'm certain everybody here has heard a little bit about what has been dubbed several different names. It's either the Ledick Project or the Continental Eagle apartment projects, or it's been called some other names. But anyway, the Daniel Pratt Historical Buildings, at the next council meeting, there should be a resolution that I would assume that council would pass, which is going to be a project agreement with the Ledick Group, which is building, is going to be overseeing the apartments coming in at the historical buildings, HPRA, which is Historical Prattville Redevelopment Association. Did I say that right? Okay.
Right on
And is it Tommy Newton or Tom Newton?
It's Tommy, but not spelled T-O-M-M-I like some people spell it. It's T-O-M-M-Y.
Why? Okay. I still hear some people call him Tom. So, and I got to tell y'all a quick story on this one, that sometimes history is great, but sometimes you also got to know who all the different players are. When I first got on the city council, had this reappointment come up that they wanted me to sponsor. They didn't really spell it out quite that well for me, just being brand new on the council. So I get this first request, and then a few weeks later there's a second request. Finally, a couple of weeks later, Gina Smith, who was the city clerk at the time, says, "Do you have a problem with Buddy Buckner?" I said, "No." I said, "Usually we're eating barbecue either with each other or beside each other at Chris's Barbecue every Saturday." She says, "Well, why don't you sponsor him on this reappointment?" I said, "Well, who is Jasper Buckner?" I've never heard of this Jasper Buckner. And, but anyway, so that's, we all have our different names and I guess aliases as we go about. But, Buddy Buckner and his crew have just been, and his family have just been a mainstay also for the city of Prattville. But we have so many other ones like you guys around here that add so much spice and charm and everything to our community. But moving right on along to what other things are coming to town. Some people here might have heard of Harbor Freight, or anyway, they're supposed to be coming up in what is the old Gilmore Ford building. I've heard some wives say, "Oh, At least he used to have to drive to Montgomery. That gave me an extra hour when he drove over to Montgomery to get whatever. Yeah, I see some head shaking. Now it's only 5 minutes up the road. So, but fortunately, you won't have to. Prattville is a safer community, so that's a good thing. But anyway, so Harbor Freight's coming. There's a grocery store coming. It's supposed to be Aldi's. I've heard of them, know a little something, but never been inside one of them. But anyway, it's supposed to be a great little community grocery store there. Now, I don't know how many people here are interested in the trampoline jump park. If anybody here wants any passes, I can get you some passes. But let me know. I'm going to call 911 before you go, and that way they'll be ready. But yeah, we have the trampoline jump park out there, and I mentioned that because I'm going to tell you a short story, and it's about partnerships and everything else. What I call is the new Old Farm Lane. It starts over around Lowe's, then comes all the way across to Fairview, and this is Highway 14 or Fairview Harold Hammond, because he's always out there doing his civic duty, picking up litter that some other people throw out. But anyway, whenever that project was coming to fruition, that was a 12-year project from Lowe's to Highway 14 or Fairview Avenue. Well, right after it was being completed, we almost lost our Ford dealership in Prattville. The Ford dealership decided it was time to build up, and they were looking at where was going to be the best places to go, and they wanted to stay in Autauga County. And so the Autauga County and the city of Prattville worked with the dealership to help keep them here in Prattville and Autauga County, and our portion of that was to realign this road, this new road from the new Old Farm Lane over to Old Ridge Road. So the city and the county partner up to get that going, and there were some other incentives to keep them here, but where I'm going with this story is that if you have any grandkids, you already know about the trampoline park. Well, they would have not have come here, and one of the things we had to do to get them to come is that they needed that road connected from in front of them over to the new Old Farm Lane right there by the Ford dealership. So if that county-city partnership had not happened to keep the Ford dealership, then we would not have gotten that other new business to come in here. And if you've ever been out to Cracker Barrel at the wrong time of day or evening, you know how difficult it is to get out right there when you turn in right close to what used to be Ruby Tuesdays. Now we have an Italian restaurant fixing to remodel it and come on into town. But it's going to be so much easier now when you leave Cracker Barrel to go by the jump park and then hit that traffic light by the Ford place. So that's just some of the little small dominoes that have to line up perfectly to help, move a city and a community in the correct direction on that one. But overall, and I just gave a State of the City address about 6 weeks ago, and in it, I talked about various things, that the projects that we had coming on, but also how the various departments have been working very closely together and been very, very dedicated to their budgets, and how we're having, our budgets have been evolving since 2012. At one time we had a lump sum budget, then we went to a line item budget, and we're trying to modify that even more to reward the various departments, the ones that do come in under budget, where financially we cannot reward them personally, but we can reward their department, that if they come in under budget, in the past that money used to go into what we call the black hole or the general fund, and sometimes you couldn't really track where it went. Well, now if they come in under budget, they can put that into a reserve fund for their department, and if they already have a project on the books, and in some cases big dollar, big ticket projects might take 1, 2, or 3 years worth of fundraising to get it to fruition. Well, then if they come in under budget, they can take that and tie it to that project or piece of equipment or whatever it might happen to be that will benefit their department or their long-term range. So our budgeting system has evolved for quite a bit since 2012, and I think it's our department heads are buying into that. So I'm very proud to say that the City of Prattville is running very efficient and effective. We always will have room for improvement, like in my daily life as well. But we are running a lot more efficient and effective to help provide the services and the quality of life programs that you guys are requesting and needing. It's been a while since I've been in here, and I knew that they'd already changed the flooring out, but this is an improvement. Kelly Cook is over the Parks and Recs, over the Parks and Recs Department, which we have still a way to go. I noticed on the outside of them coming in, but we expect some more positive change in here at the Gillespie Center, over at the Doster Center, and so many other places. Even around the pond in the near future, we've had some erosion issues on the creek bank. And I'm certain you guys have noticed as you come across the creek bridge, the C. Gray Price Bridge. So we're actually looking for 2019. We've been working on 2019's budget since December of 2018. So anyway, I mean December of 2017. But anyway, we're working on that to actually help the budgeting system be as efficient and effective and keep our departments going in that direction. There's so many other things I could talk on and on and on about, but an hour is not long enough. Isn't it an hour I got? Okay.
Because we do an excellent job. Prattville does an excellent job with the flowers.
Yes, ma'am.
It just looks so good.
It does, and I got some good news and some bad news, and then some good news. Good news, I don't have anything to do with that. The bad news, Devin Peak, he's been our urban management person for some time. He's decided to take a faith of leap and go into his own small business on that one. But the good news is we have a lot of great people behind him. The funding is still going to be, building and going on that one. Because at one point in time when we were going through some financial challenges, that was one of the areas that had to be cut back. And at one point in time we had several people that made some negative comments about it. But I'm going to tell you, I asked them to step back and just look at how much downtown now, having a problem downtown problem with parking. That ought to be some kind of indicator that somebody's doing something right. And I think the apartments are having a part of that, but I think also the flowers. But then also, who came down for Christmas? Did you see the Christmas tree and did you see the bridge? Well, wait till next year. Kelly Cook is over Parks and Rec. She is Christmas. She has a special spot for Christmas. So wait till next year. If you thought last year or the year before was great, wait till next year. I don't know what she's going to do. I never do, because I want it to be like opening a present up for me as well. So, but they're doing a great job. We have so many departments and dedicated department heads. Our public safety, they just moved in about a year ago into their new building on the other side of Pratt Pond. And so if you have time, call ahead and ask for a tour and tell them you want to see the grounds and everything else. But the landscape of Prattville is changing. I think in the vast majority of cases, I think it's for the better. But that is, time will tell. Yes, sir.
Yeah, we started a project 5 or 6 miles south of town for Mrs. Lyndon Johnson, who used to call this at least her play area. I think she had relatives here.
Right.
But we were looking for some property here in town instead of down there where it sort of deserted and was on an extension program of Auburn University, and he was trying to take care of it, but it was more than he could handle too. Is there any progress on that?
Not at this time. Matter of fact, I thought we had made a little bit of progress on it. And how many people here have ever heard of the rat farm? Here, okay. And anyway, the rat farm is just stone's throw from here. And the company that owns the rat farm was trying to give the building to the city of Prattville. But for clarity, the rat farm, those were probably the cleanest thing where there were sterile rats. They were for research and so forth. The areas that the rats were in was so much cleaner than where the employees took their lunch break. But anyway, the building is in need of a lot of work. The roof is leaking, and they're going to try to give it to us. And then because we had a lot of irons in the fire, and it took a few years, they have pulled that offer of the gift away from the city and is giving it to, I think, to the county now. But now I had talked with some master gardeners. At that time, I thought there's a possibility that might be a spot, but we're still looking. But I do have it in the back of my mind because, that was a Bob Lee Bob Lee project as well, and you and Mr. Lee have made a lot of, left a lot of great